So if you're listening and you're walking in God's will and you feel like the enemy is against you, I want to say good, because that means you're walking in God's perfect plan. Be surprised when God shows up, because God's full of surprises, and hang loosely onto your plans, but follow his path. By faith, I know that God was using me and this influence and this experience to change lives, to get people just to think maybe just differently, even by 1 degree, right? Just that 1 degree of change can start you going down a path. And I think that's the cool part, that's what that was, that's what we were doing. Yeah, 100%. Like it was, I became a target. Like I became I definitely had a bullseye on my back. The enemy had a bullseye on me for sure. Why we need to put on the full armor of God every day. And I learned a lot from that experience, and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, it was tough, because I was definitely, I mean, look, I'm going to use a big word, and I hate to even use this, but I faced some persecution. Golf to me, I think about all the meaningful moments and memorable moments I've had on the golf course with my friends. That's community. Like when you're in the golf cart with someone else for 2.5 hours, we played 9 holes and we played a scramble, and every week they were paired with somebody differently. You're going to meet some people. I saw relationships form. I saw men's lives transformed.
Hey, I just want to jump on here before the podcast begins. This is going to be a great one. You're going to really enjoy listening to Chris Hansen's story. He is the real deal. From the time that he lost his job and felt despair and not knowing what was going to happen, to the time that God showed up and showed him how to use his previous skills from men's ministry and from his sports ministry days to creating a brand new business. God's showing up miraculous ways. You're going to enjoy hearing his story. But before we jump into the podcast, I want to tell you about our free Joseph Culture community that Hosea and I have just launched. If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a business leader that is looking to scale their business, to grow their business, and to surround themselves with other men and women that are like-minded, that want to grow their business the kingdom way, this group is for you. We're going to have group calls once a month and begin to unpack our framework. Now, Hosea has spent 25 years in ministry, and I have spent 25 years in the marketplace, and we've combined our knowledge to create a framework that we can guarantee your business growth, your spiritual depth, and an increased growth in your spiritual life. So if that's what you're looking for, join the free community today. I'm going to put a link down below, and I hope to see you there. Now back to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited for this one. I've got my friend Chris Hansen, a new friend here, and welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Hey, Richie, glad to be here. Honored to make acquaintances and get to know you pretty fast here. Thanks to a mutual relationship, and honored to be on the podcast today and have a fruitful conversation and share what God's doing in and through our lives, and hopefully help some people along the way.
Yeah, I love seeing all the Texas Rangers stuff behind you. Definitely grew up going to a lot of Ranger games.
Yeah, Rangers and Cubs fan right here myself, and a diehard baseball fan, diehard sports fan. I love sports. I love the competition side of it and the community it creates. So I'm sure that will come out in the conversation at some point in time today.
Yeah, my latest passion, I guess, in the sports realm, you can call it a sport, F1. I got sucked into F1. So
heck, yeah, I'm not that
fan.
I'm not big on that. I get it, but I mean, if you got to sit behind a wheel for 2.5 hours going at 200 miles an hour, that's a sport to me. And there was a really good movie at one point in time where they did a race movie where the guy trained using video games and became a real.
Yes, yeah,
epic movie. So yes, absolutely a sport.
So that's what got me sucked into this F1. So that watching that movie, then I watched the F1 Netflix show, and then that got me sucked into to F1. So
all right, I saw that movie respectfully through Life Church when Life Church does their movies, the ministry in the movies or something like that. Craig does this whole series where he breaks down a movie and preaches a sermon out of the context of the movie. Oh, it was awesome. And that was that got me. I was like, I get it. Cool. Good stuff.
Well, let me give you an introduction and we'll just jump right in. So today's guest, his name's Chris Hansen. He's the co-founder and CEO of Bogeys to Birdies. It's a purpose-driven golf company which is on a mission to expand the game by providing high-quality golf clubs at an affordable price, while building community, connection, and kingdom impact through the game of golf. He is a faith-driven entrepreneur whose leadership journey was shaped long before the marketplace. He spent years in sports ministry and later served as a men's pastor, where his heart for discipleship and brotherhood was formed. At the core of his work is a deep commitment to helping men become better fathers, husbands, leaders, and followers of Christ, creating spaces where transformation happens in authentic relationship and a shared purpose. So alongside ministry, Chris built a successful corporate career at HP, where he founded Stay the Path, a community initiative focused on unity, meaningful dialogue, and authentic connection within the teams. Today, he brings his faith and leadership together in the marketplace, modeling what it looks like in business as fully aligned with biblical principles, and becomes a powerful force for the kingdom of God. So welcome again to the show.
Absolutely.
I want to hear. Let's start. I want to hear your story. Your experience at HP. So, how long were you there? What was your position? Let's talk about HP.
Loved HP. They afforded me a lot of great opportunities. It allowed me to create a lot of meaningful and significant relationships that still play a role and impact in my life. I started there when I was 32. I was actually one of the youngest corporate sales professionals in the organization when I stepped in at 32. I think I stepped into a room at one time at one of our corporate kickoffs, and I think I lowered the median age of the room by about 15 years. So it was it was crazy. I was definitely one of the youngest ones at the time. I was 32 when I started there. It really helped formed me. It really made a big impact in my corporate career, and a lot of experiences that I gained from that are playing a major role in how I lead how I'm leading the business today with Bogeys Birdies, how I'm leading these young men who are part of the other co-founders. So very grateful for everything it afforded me. I got to see what it meant to be I got to see leaders who are really good at what they do in that space, and to be very transparent. I saw some leaders that I learned what not to do in terms of leadership. And I think that's really beneficial, especially when you think about being in the corporate culture, is there's definitely a difference between leaders and managers. Mm-hmm. And, I think one thing, especially as somebody who is a follower of Christ and a believer and walking in faith, God wants to use all those moments for our good, right? Romans 8:28. But I think in those spaces, he also wants us to recognize, there are learning lessons along the way from the good and the ones who aren't good. And so I think that I found a lot of value in that, because it really helped shape who I am and what I wanted to be and who I wanted to become as a leader.
So what were some of those? What were some of those leadership qualities that you saw that are a must-have, and then ones that were absolutely no way, this is a horrible leadership?
I was just thinking about this morning a little bit, and we had talked beforehand. I think the number one biggest quality is being others focused, is being other centered. Right? Christ calls us to love God and love people, and loving people is all about being, instead of being self-centered, self-focused, self-promoting, is all about how am I others focused, others promoting, and building others up. And I think that's probably the number one takeaway and one of the best ways I saw it done, one of the best ways that I try to be an example of that is celebrating other people, recognizing other people, appreciating other people. So I talked about Craig Rochelle. He's probably one of my most impactful leadership experts. If you've ever listened to his podcast, it's brilliant. He says, if you think that you're honoring people, double it. Double it. Wow. If you think that you're doing a good job, double it. And so, man, when I heard that, I took that to heart, and I made that part of my mission. And I went on a journey of making sure that anybody who was in my core influence of people, I made sure to always celebrate when they went above and beyond, made to recognize when they had big wins, recognize when they had great quarters, great halves, great years. When they would make sure when they did something on my behalf or the company's behalf, go out of your way. Like more than just an email, reach out with a phone call, send a text. Like we had a platform that we used internally for recognition and celebration. I set a goal every year to do 100 recognitions and appreciations. These are the things that I saw the leaders who did that well. Those were the ones that, you looked up to and said, like, that's who I want to be like. Those are the leaders.
Were you in a leadership role there, or you were just doing this for your peers?
In terms of actual role, no, I was an individual contributor, sales professional, had a territory here in Dallas, Fort Worth, where I reside. But as we know, as believers of Christ, I mean, we're all called to be leaders. That men are leaders, and so no matter where we show up, we're called to lead in that space. Again, I didn't at 32 didn't know that, right? It took me time. It took me, finding the right mentors, finding the right people who would advocate on my behalf, who were guiding me in the corporate space, and I learned from them. I learned from from leadership, from leaders in the Christian walk, in the Christian areas, and I think and then I tried to apply that to become a leader. And what I saw here's what I saw, Richie, is what I think is really great is that the prayer of Jabez, right, to expand my territory, increased influence, and point others to Christ, right? And so the more that I became others focused and we become others focused, God will continue to increase your influence and expand your territory. And even though I wasn't in a director role, a leader manager role, or a VP role, like I knew that I still had a kingdom influence to the people that I work with at HP.
That's good. What were some negative leadership qualities that you saw?
Yeah, I'll give you one of my favorites of all time. Because it's kind of the opposite side of this. And I think maybe this is a corporate culture. I don't know if this is a trained behavior. I don't know where this comes from. One of the ones that frustrated me the most, if I'm being very transparent, is say you had 7 buckets of things to accomplish, right? And say you're excelling in 5 of the 7. I mean, you're crushing it, right? You're accomplishing your goals. You're hitting your plan. You're coming through. You're executing. You're delivering on the company mission. But look, we can't deliver in every area, right? Sometimes that's just nearly impossible. It'd be great to check every lever, but sometimes that's impossible. And I found some of those leadership in those people in leadership, especially ones I would call managers and not really leaders, it was easy for them to go disregard the 5 you're excelling on and just be hyper focused on the 2 areas that you're missing the mark. And then, they would obstacles and hurdles and challenges that you're like, hey, can we celebrate the 5 things I'm doing really well and then find ways to improve? And I found the most difficult areas and frustrations were like, no recognition of the 5, right? Let's forget about those other 5, but let's just harp on these 2 areas where you're missing the mark and make you feel absolutely terrible about yourself, make you feel like you're not succeeding, make you feel like you're not helping the company. I would say that was probably number one. It's funny because I still talk about that people today. It's like, that was probably the one that left me the most disappointed. Like, how do you do that? Like, let's again, build others up, right? Let's not tear others down. And so again, I get there's an importance to helping us. I love critical feedback. I want to grow in every area of my life, but not at the expense of letting go of some of the things that you actually are doing well. Iron sharpens iron, right? I mean, a great case of like, iron sharpens iron means that you're going to have some difficult conversations, and that's okay. But let's not miss the moments to celebrate others and recognize others for where they are prospering.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So while you're at HP, you created a organization or a group called Stay the Path.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So it was more, I call it more of an experience. So happened during COVID. Most of us in the sales category, sales professionals were, we spent most of our year on the road traveling. But we were very regionalized, right? Northwest, Southwest, Midwest, South, Central, and then the West. And so during COVID, when everything shut down, the reality is like we all got kind of like stuck in our homes, couldn't go see our community was like everybody experienced this, right? Community shut down. And so what I found is this area where people again, we all saw it, right? People were depressed, they were defeated, they were broken, people resorted to different vices and different addictions that came out of that were disappointing. And I saw this happening in the corporate space, and the Lord just put a little, an inspiration in my heart, and He said, I want everybody to prosper together. And so I work in, the Lord speaks to me in acronyms like this. So PATH, so passive for prosper all together at HP. And so
cool.
it was fun. Like that, I could go on for the rest of the podcast about the way that the Lord uses different acronyms to speak to me. And it's wild. I don't get how it started. Just one day He just like an acronym. And then, those are the ways He and He speaks us different. That's how I communicate with Him.
Yep.
And fun ideas.
And it's important to understand how He does speak and identify those, because
yes, exactly.
As soon as you learn how He's speaking to you, you
find those patterns and those rhythms, and then you can start to pay really close attention to it and find where God is moving. So, I would say the path was a way to really to like create unity among our group, because what I saw in a lot of our team calls and national calls was frustration and disappointment, and the way that the West Coast handled COVID compared to the way that Texas handled COVID, as we all know, was radically different. And so I felt that there was people who should have been, we're on the same team, right? And we talk about this in marriage a lot. Like, we're on the same team. Like, we're not working against each other. We're all working for each other. We're all shareholders and stockholders of the same company who want to excel and want to achieve and want to perform. And so out of that came this idea of, like, again, how do we all prosper together? How do we forge unity? How do we develop significant and meaningful relationships and memorable moments along the way that we could use to help, to encourage one another, to help inspire one another, to help one another, show up on a daily basis and do your best and work with excellence. So it was an amazing experience. It formed some crazy, awesome bonds between, people from all across the country who wouldn't normally have gotten together. And it was 100% grassroots, 100% volunteer. I was doing my day-to-day job, doing what I was, in sales, helping customers identify problems and find problems and bring them solutions, help them solve them. But at the same time, was doing it internally. And I watched.
Was this a monthly event or like a weekly event? Is this?
Yeah, kind of like that. It worked where it was. So it was an opt-in program where I would send an email to. Gosh, I don't remember. The numbers are. We had like 1,500 across our entire category of sales in North America. In North America, and or just in the U.S. actually. And I think we had like 100 to 150 people opt in. Again, completely grassroots, completely volunteer, but people just wanted to raise their hand and say yes. And so what I would do is I would pair these people up randomly, and I would give them kind of topics or podcasts to watch or just ideas to generate conversation.
Almost kind of like a mentorship kind of a program or a relational
covert discipleship program, essentially in a corporate setting. And so what I would do, and I would encourage them to meet once a week during the heart of COVID when things were slow. It was easy to meet once a week because no one was traveling. As we came out of it and we started traveling more, most of the groups met once a month. But the groups that I was part of, we met once a week on a Thursday or Friday morning. And a lot of times, really, it was just a way for somebody to say, I need somebody to listen to besides the 4 people I'm stuck with in my house right now.
So you say you paired them up 2 by 2, or did you pair them up in
groups of 4 or 5? Groups of 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because
this is a great prototype for those listening, that they can take this strategy and implement it in their corporate culture.
Yeah, it's once again a great way to get diverse perspectives, right? Like, we get so locked in and like wanting to work with like-hearted, like-minded, like-spirited people, and I love that. But there is such right, like Jesus said in the Bible, like, go out to the hedges and the highways. Well, you're not going to do it staying in one lane. And so that was kind of another heart behind it, was like, I want to hear from people what they're going through in New York City or in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Sacramento, California, or in Denver, Colorado. Like, their experiences were different and their perspectives were different. And I think it really challenged a lot of people in these groups of 4 or 5. I tried to do bigger groups. I'm just being transparent here. Try to do bigger groups. The problem is it's real easy for people to check out in bigger groups. And you get more than 5 people, there's always one or two people who just show up who don't want to talk. And the whole point of you showing up is to build relationship and create community and forge unity and and so you need to share. We need to talk in these relations, right? It's a great place to learn vulnerability.
And
It
that's
was a
really
great
that's really
place.
cool that you're able to create a intentional discipleship program in a corporate culture. Did you find that Christianity was welcome in the corporate environment?
It's a great question. So one of the things that was birthed out of the State of the Path became a State of the Path guest speaker series. So I was very fortunate to, I'm very bold in reaching out to people and connecting with people. I'm okay being rejected by people. You're in sales long enough, you get used to rejection. So getting turned away and getting turned down, no big deal. So I just reached out to the people who were influences in my life and voices in my life, and asked them to partner with me. I shared with them what we're doing in the community, shared with how their content was empowering me, were edifying me, were educating me, and I asked them to come speak. And by the grace of God, we got some amazing speakers who waived their speaking fees to come share for 30 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
I had some ones who were secular. I had some ones who were faith-based. And so I will say that, again, I always it was volunteer. None of this was like you had to show up. This wasn't a corporate mandate. This was me on a mission to spread the gospel in a very covert way inside a large corporate culture, for those who know HP. And look, I was given every opportunity, and God opened a lot of doors. I would say the minute that the language of the Bible and the name of Jesus came up, it did offend some people. When we talk about the truth openly and boldly and courageously, we need to be ready to be prepared that people will be offended. And so
the gospel
I found
offends.
that,
I mean, that's what the Bible tells us, that the gospel offends the non-believer. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think I ruffled some feathers along the way, and praise God, I did.
Unintentionally.
Think that, unintentionally, right? Again, just being the light of Christ is going to, it's going to draw a lot of people in. And when I left HP and when my season ended there, and I was on on that story, we may talk about it, but just got caught on the wrong side of wrong side of a reorg when it's all said and done. Is when I had a chance to reflect, I'm like, I had a hard time with that. Like, I struggled big time when I was let go, when I was found on the other side of the reorg. It was tough because I loved I loved what I was doing. I felt like I was really making a difference. And I think that was the hard part, is that, so going back to that, is that I realized that even though I might not see some of the transformation in people's lives, I know that transformation was happening by faith. By faith, I know that God was using me and this influence and this experience to change lives, to get people just to think maybe just differently, even by 1 degree, right? Just that 1 degree of change can start you going down a path. And I think that's the cool part, that's what we were doing.
So, yes, so there was a literal, there's a literal cost to living out your faith in that kind of environment.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I became a target. Like, I became I definitely had a bullseye on my back. The enemy had a bullseye on me for sure. Did not like, right. Anytime we're bold, right. The darts the fiery darts from the enemy start to come henceforth why we need to put on the full armor of God every day. And I learned a lot from that experience, and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, it was tough because I was definitely, look, I'm going to use a big word, and I hate to even use this, but I faced some persecution, not to the degree anywhere. I'm not even trying to relate myself to anybody like what the apostles and what the early Christians did. No chance. But in terms of modern day persecution and oppression, like being shut out, being blackballed, I had a mentor who completely cut me off. And that was very difficult because that person was a big influence, who I thought was somebody who was an advocate for me, who was a champion for me. And they poured into me and they helped me and they opened some doors, but kind of at the end, when, I knew I wanted to push the boundaries. Like, I wanted to, I want the gospel of Jesus spread everywhere we go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cut off. I mean, and that hurt. That was a hard season. Like to just be completely shut off. I mean, it was just abrupt. This is we're ending this. So that was tough. Yeah.
So
tough.
in that season, did you have a group of other men that you could, vent to
Yeah.
and share, do life with, and they could, encourage you to stay the course and you're on the right track?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. I was heavily invested in our men's leadership at our local church. In fact, at the time I was the men's pastor too at our church.
Okay.
And so I had come out of a season of leading all the sports ministry. I was over all the sports, and then transitioned into men's pastor. So I was in that season. I was Monday night was golf league. Tuesday was promise, or what we call promise principle. It's like a Bible study group in the morning. Thursday was softball, and Friday was Friday morning prayer. Like I was, I needed it.
Yeah.
I was in all of them. So I was very fortunate. And that's very important because you can't walk through that stuff alone.
Mm-hmm.
To go through I'm sure there are many other people who have experienced very similar, if not even more radical ways of being oppressed and persecuted in the corporate culture like I did. And I can't imagine trying to do it alone. Like I still do have a really great group of about 7 or 8 guys that, it's funny. One of our guys' nicknames is they called it it's Sons of Thunder. I don't know why we stole that name or borrowed that name. One guy made it up one time and it stuck, and we just go with it. But it is, it's a powerful group of men who rally around one another, and we pray for one another, and we lift one another up, and we encourage one another. And it's every Friday we still meet, and not meet per se, but we share every Friday. We're intentional for about 2 hours in the morning on text messages with sharing scripture, what the Lord's grabbed our attention with that week, inspiring one another, praying for one another. So it is, that was very important to me. Very helpful.
Probably say, I would suspect that if you weren't even a part of that group, you wouldn't have been as bold in your corporate environment because of the level of encouragement and community that you find.
Yeah.
And that actually helps you become more bold when you're around other men like that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on with that, because they poured into me, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just maybe a sidebar on this, but I'll make sure I say this right. But look, as leaders of men, it's right. Like we're constantly pouring into others, right? Especially as a leader, you're constantly pouring out. I mean, I would meet with men for breakfast and lunch and coffees, and hear them share their stories and what they were walking through, what God was doing in their life. I loved it. Fueled me. I loved hearing what men walk through. I love praying with men. But when you're constantly pouring out, the number one thing to think about is you need to be poured into. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, that's where community is so important, because if you're always pouring out and you're not getting refueled, eventually burnout happens, right? That's where burnout exists. And so I'm always encouraging leaders is yes, it's important to be pouring out and being giving to others. But if you're not plugged into some sort of community group and sort of Bible study, whatever it looks like in your walk of life, and being poured back into as a leader, you just sometimes need to be a receiver. Just receive, right? Because if not, you're going to walk in lack and not for being fulfilled. And so to me, it was constant. It was I always felt like every time I was pouring out, I was being poured back into by even guys who weren't in leadership at the church, who were right. They were coming to church, they were attending a Bible study, but you'd hear these stories of faith and trust. Wow. And hope and encouragement. And you're like, I receive it. And that gave me the boldness and courage to step into my place. And I had a place to come and share vulnerably with my other men. Okay, here's what I'm going through this week, guys. Here's what happened. Here's what the leadership said about what I'm trying to accomplish. And I, again, prayed over, encouraged, celebrated, recognized. All those things were very important. That's why community to me is the number one most important thing in your walk of faith, especially as a man, especially as a leader. Especially if you're in any sort of men's leadership, or just being a man, a father, a husband, a brother, be poured into as much as you're pouring out.
just trying to be the light in a dark place. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reason. That's the sales pitch for being in community is right there. You gotta get poured into. You gotta have a someone you're pouring into, and be in an environment where you can be vulnerable and honest and share things that are going on. It's huge.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
mentioned
think,
something earlier that in that stay the path that I just felt like I wanted to bring up was when you lift Jesus up, he draws all men to himself. So as you were sharing the gospel in that form, he was drawing people to
yeah,
himself in that moment. So let's take a quick shift, and you left HP, and after during that time of, because I'm sure that wasn't what you had in mind, but like, was it how was that season in the moment between your leaving HP, kind of that abrupt season, and then what how did you feel
yeah,
in that season?
yeah. That's a great. I love this question because it allows me to be super vulnerable, and that's, to me, vulnerability changes the game, right? That's when I think God can do the most work in you and through you. And so, again, I'm several years removed from it now, and life is I'm on a completely different journey. And you're right. It's funny when you say that. I had a plan. God had a path. And I think I've learned a lot about, like, there's my plans and there's God's plans, and we all know the scripture, like, that his ways are higher, his ways are better, his plans are better. And if I'm being transparent again, it's like I was broken, like I was hurt. It was a real difficult several months of, like, so we're on the day we're filming this right now. I was actually, when I was praying this morning and reading my journal, today is the actual day that I was received the notice. So on the day that we're filming it, you're gonna listen to this years later, but, like, if you're listening later, like today and the day that we're filming this, I was in my journal. So I do a 5-year journal. If anybody's ever done it, it's the best way to journal, best way to in my mind.
Wow.
It's five lines.
I haven't even heard of a 5-year journal.
Oh my gosh, game changer. I was not a journaler. Hey, all credit to Craig Rochelle again. This guy literally is from his leadership. He does the same thing. Not a journaler. I got intimidated by journaling, writing long, like, I think about, like, how my wife journals, like, these long pages and these notebooks full of stuff. I was like, that's intimidating. That's too much. When I heard about this, literally, it's 5 lines a day for 5 years. And so it's cool because you get to look back over the year and say, oh, the thing I was walking through 2 years ago that was really hard, like being let go from my job, look what God's doing now. And so it's just radical to think that, like, this is the day.
So it's separated by year, by the day. So you've got
each day, every day,
January 7th, 2025, 2026.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's the most brilliant, because you don't have to overthink stuff. I use it in a way to, I usually write down, like, what's God speaking to me today? Like, what did I walk through? What am I praying for? Who am I praying for? It's fun to look back and you read a note and you're like, oh, I was praying for, my buddy Joe, who's walking through cancer. And 2 years later, like, Joe's healed and redeemed and saved. Like, praise God. Look what, like, so it reminds you, like, how good God is and what he's doing. Or, like, anyways, that's a complete sidebar. So the point is that looking back on that day, like, I was broken and defeated in that moment. Like, it was painful. I had my life planned out. I had a path that I knew that where I was going, I was making a difference. I was walking where I believed that God had called me to walk, and he did. But he also had another plan for me, and we can read all through scripture.
So you listened, and you felt like God was asking you to everything that he asked you to do. You did it in
and it still resulted in me being turned away from the corporate role. Yeah. So if you're listening and you're walking in God's will and you feel like the enemy is against you, I want to say good, because that means you're walking in God's perfect plan. and be surprised when God shows up, because God's full of surprises, and hang loosely onto your plans, but follow his path. So, yeah, those next 2 months were I wrestled with it for about 2 months, 2 months of like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I ask God every day, like the one thing that my breakthrough was like, Lord, help me to discern between the truths and the lies, because the enemy's voice was very, very, very loud in that season. And he would accuse me. He would torture. He would say things like, you were insignificant. You never made a difference. You were ruthless. You were like, you did everything wrong in the corporate culture. You never achieved. I heard it loud. And there was one morning where I just asked the Lord, I said, Lord, I can't take this anymore. I need you to help me discern between the truths and lies. And like, again, going back to being in part of community and studying the scriptures and going through spiritual training, it allowed me to really grab the word of God, grab his truths, grab his promises, and pray them over the circumstances and the situation that I was walking through, that helped lift me back up, he helped encourage me. He helped put me back on the smooth path. And that was the game changer. And then how we get to Bogeys and Birdies was I'm broken, I'm defeated. I thought, actually, quick story, in that moment, I was actually applying for another role inside HP, a completely separate industry. I never worked inside the company, that I think that would have been a great fit. I was told the job was mine. I was told, you're the guy, you're going to be like, this is it. And so I'm literally, me and my wife, we're going on a retreat, and we're going to, we're to retreat, to celebrate, to get some time away. And I don't get a phone call. I don't get an email, or I don't get a text. I get an email from the hiring staff that says, hey, we went another direction. Best of luck in your career. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, man.
And I was like,
so close the door.
We're driving to Florida to get away. And I'm like, all the emotions come running right back in. Mm-hmm. But the voice of God said, when I said your season was over, your season was over. And I was like, and that was it. Like that, talk about like that was the moment. Like, I was like, okay, we're moving on. Like, I'm ready. Like, it was just this like miraculous thing that God's like, I said your season was over. It's over. And I had
so
this
he
peace.
Gave you the vision for Bogeys to Birdies.
So while we're there, I'm praying, and again, God's acronyms and also sport metaphors. But he goes, "You don't think I can turn your bogey season into a birdie?" That's I wrote it down. I can read in my journal. I said, I felt it was faith inspired, Romans 8:28 golf theme. You don't think I can turn your bogey season into a birdie? And I was like, no, you can, Lord. That's what you do. And so I was like, wait a second. Then I went back and I started like meditating on this, started pondering on it, started like praying about it. I'm like, wait a second. I think there's actually a business idea here. Bogeys to Birdies was birthed out of that season. And it's, the genesis goes all the way back. So when I was leading sports in the men's pastor, one of my favorite things to do was lead our golf ministry. I think sports bridges the gap better than any other. I'm very partial. It bridges the gap for men who haven't crossed the line of faith. Sports is the greatest equalizer. And it's part of my journey and how I came to faith, how I grew in faith, how I grew into leadership. But in the golf ministry, that was one thing that I was super passionate about. When I led the golf ministry, my biggest thing was like just getting men involved, right? Just get men to show up to something. Men are on the golf courses. They're on the basketball courts. They're on the softball fields. There's a lot of men who are never going to step into the four walls of church, but they're on the playing fields. We're called to go to the ministry and to the mission fields. That was my mission field, was to go to those places. So we started the golf ministry as a way to get men connected, community, connection, and fellowship. A lot of my friends didn't golf, didn't have clubs, couldn't afford them. And so what I would do is I would go to secondhand stores. I would go to garage sales. I would piece together the basics of a set. And I'd say, here you go, come play. Here you go, okay. Come play. And by the grace of God, I was able to gift over around 30 complete sets of clubs. We had people in the church donating. We had friends who were donating. I had some golf, some clubs that are some like golf courses that were giving stuff. It was awesome. It was so cool. So I pulled a lot of that experience into Bogeys to Birdies and said, hey, how do we grow this a national brand? How do we make this reach more people? How do we how do we redeem the game of golf? And that's the journey we're on. We're 1 year into it. And that's the whole mission is we're here to help golfers everywhere get access to quality clubs at affordable prices because, golf is, if you're not a golfer, and I'm boring you, I'm so sorry. I get super passionate about this subject, but and it really can be attributed to anything. But golf to me, I think about all the meaningful moments and memorable moments I've had on the golf course with my friends. That's community. Like when you're in the golf cart with someone else for 2.5 hours when you're in our golf industry,
4 hours.
You're there 4 hours if you're playing. We play 9 holes. So yeah, we play 9 holes and we played a scramble, and every week they were paired with something differently. Like you're going to meet some people. I saw relationships form. I saw men's lives transformed, and that goes back to kind of the introduction. And that's one of the things that I get super passionate about. It's like I want to create spaces. That was my heart as when I led the men's ministry, is create spaces and places where when men show up, we're not just stealing them from their family, right? You're not just leaving your wife and your kids at home, but you're coming to get empowered, equipped, and trained up in the spirit. So when you go home, you're a better father, you're a better husband, you're a better brother, you're a better believer. Like I want you to change, I say this even by 1 degree. Even if you just change by 1 degree for the good, you're a different person internally, which then comes out externally when you get home, when you're around your friends, when you're in the corporate, when you're working for corporate, right? And it comes out in all these, manifests in all these different ways. That was my passion. That was the heart behind what we were trying to, what I wanted to accomplish. I saw it happen. I could probably write a book about the number of testimonies. I've seen it change and transform people's lives. And
so share one testimony if you got one that you can.
Yeah, remember. One of my favorites. Okay, if this young guy ever listens, it is truly one of my favorite moments ever. So a lot of the guys that we would end up playing golf with had never played the game. They just wanted to be involved in something, right? Men want to belong. That's why I love sports. Men want to belong. They want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. Sports allows you to do that. So the guy's never played golf. He actually, I think we gave him a set of irons to get him going. So I think it was like the third ever time he played with us. We played at this local golf course. We're on the 9th hole. It's one of the hardest courses. The sun is setting. It's dusk. You can barely see the golf ball. He stripes a drive down the center of the fairway. Best drive out of, and I like the guys are playing pretty decent. And then there was him, played 3 times, smokes a drive. We're like, dude, that's all you, man. You got it. Hit the next shot in. So he hits the second shot and it lands right next to the cup. Now you can barely see it, but just enough you can see it land right next to the cup. And so none of the other guys hit it well. We hit it great. We walk up there. His ball's right next to the hole. He taps it in. You would have thought he just won the Masters. We all celebrated like he won the Masters. Like we were, it was like the greatest. We didn't win that night, but he won. We won in the kingdom. Like his life was changed. So we always had we had some healthy competition along the way of for prize money for back to golf shop credit. All of us gave our money to him. We gave him all the money and said, go get yourself, because he would show up so he was he was going through law school. And so he had, he would wear his dress clothes to the golf course. He'd come right from, I think he was coming right from the law office, so I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but he did not have golf shoes. He had regular dress shoes. So we get him golf shoes, and as he's buying the shoes, he's weeping. He is in tears.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, I can't wait to call my father-in-law and let him know what just happened. It is going to change our relationship. And so he calls me the next day and he's like, Chris, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for this golf league. I slept in the shoes last night. Because I slept in my golf shoes last night. He goes, and I called my father-in-law this morning. He wants me to fly out to Arizona, come meet him and play. And I'm just so excited. And the life that kind of came out of him in that moment. It's my favorite story. It's and it was just such a that could have been so insignificant. Yeah, big deal. He made a birdie in a scramble with the 4 guys, and big deal, right? But man, it was so much bigger than that. It was life. We tell that story often. I haven't seen him in a couple years now, but I bet if I did, that'd be the first thing we talk about. Hey, I'll never forget. Slept in his golf shoes. So cool moment.
Yeah. So where do people find Bogeys to Birdies? Where do people find how do they buy golf clubs from you? How do they
Yeah,
sell golf
I mean,
clubs to you?
yeah, perfect. Yeah, so bogeysbirdiesgolf.com is our website, and one of our other co-founders, Logan, brilliant, built a beautiful website, very interactive. I think it's one of the most, probably one of the best in the industry. I'm very partial, obviously. You can check us there. You can check us out at Bogeys Birdies Golf on Instagram and Facebook and all the social media, TikTok. And we're really trying to grow like, again, I talk about it's a faith inspired brand. I'm not afraid to share that, like, everything we're doing is trying to point people to Christ the best way we can. I've never done this before, never ran a company, never started a company. Praise God, He's given me an entrepreneur spirit. Trying to figure it out one day at a time. We're a small team of three.
What's been the hardest thing in this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was at HP, I knew where my paycheck was coming from. I knew I was getting a paycheck, and it's fine. And I don't want to paint the picture like you are your paycheck. It's like, but I think walking in faith is different when your income feels guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but I look, HP did me well, and I'm very grateful for that. I think the hardest part is, like, literally, this is like, I'm responsible for everything. In the story, like, we're responsible for everything, and I've learned a lot about just how to be a leader to younger men in that space. In terms of the business setting, it's been fascinating. Learning how to manage numbers differently. Never really did that. I think it's a true walk of faith. And that's really my prayer through this, is that, like, it's a big risk. It's taking a risk. And I heard this said recently, can't remember who said this, but he said, I'm going to paraphrase this. Basically, like, a lot of people look at when you take risk that you're rich. Like, people who take risk, they attribute that, well, they must be rich so they can go out on a limb. Well, that's not the truth. When you take a risk, it just means that you have that faith that you're walking in God's will, and He's going to come through in your life.
Right.
And I don't know how He's going to come through, but He's going to come through. And so I think in some ways, if, again, full transparency, I had hit the ceiling of my faith at HP, and God said, if I'm going to grow your faith, if I'm going to increase your faith, if my will is going to be done in and through you, and you're going to be the light of Christ, I need to break through that ceiling. You're not going to like it, Chris. You're not going to like the way I'm going to do it, but I trust that you're going to do it. And I'm doing every day, walking in obedience, one of the hardest things we'll do, and discerning the will of God. But I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that, like, it has increased my faith to another level that I didn't know was possible.
That's amazing. I think this will be my last question. How have you seen God work in Bogeys to Birdies already? It's only been 2 years, you said?
No, that we just, this will be, we just celebrated our first full calendar year. First 24, we were just coming online. 25 was our first full calendar year. And so, man, I've seen God work in a lot of ways. But I haven't stopped being bold so one of the things that we do is we go to clubs all across the country. We partner with them to help their members take clubs that are no longer in their starting lineup or retired, and in exchange for golf credit. It's how we acquire our inventory to then make it affordable for other people. And so I get the benefit of traveling all across the country and working with these amazing country clubs and meeting amazing people. And I'm the same person that I was at HP, being bold and courageous for Christ. And I've got the privilege and honor to share the love of Christ all across the country in spaces that I never thought, one, places I never thought I'd be in, and two, with people I never thought I'd come in contact with. So God has expanded my sphere of influence and my territory tremendously to help point more people toward Him. And I think that's I had no vision of this. I didn't, and this is one of the things, like, you can't strategize for some of this stuff, right? You can just live. You can't.
Yeah. God just opens the doors.
Yeah. And it's like, I can, looking backwards, I can tell you about the strategies that I used to get there, but, like, the real lived experiences are the real testimonies of, like, nothing was like, hey, I went from here to here and then here to here. It's like, I went from here, then to here, then to here. Then I went back to here, then over to here, then up, down. Like, it's like, that's the way life was lived. It's like, and
Yeah.
so I'm experiencing it real time in terms of like growing a business, starting a business, and like watching God work. I've seen miracles. I've seen God perform. Again, I think I say this a lot. Like most days I ask God, I want Lord surprise me today, because I know you're full of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's full of surprises. I don't know if I'm always going to like them all. But I think it's a greater, God's given me a greater recognition and a greater ability to see him more clearly and learn more about who his true nature. And that's been allowed me to share my faith at a greater level than I ever have. And I'm grateful for that. Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, there's been tough seasons. We got a lot of things wrong along the way. But it's been remarkable to watch him open doors that, again, never thought I'd see opened.
That's powerful. So if there's a
Yeah.
listener that is that's a member of a club and they want to reach out to their golf pro to get with you,
Yeah.
how do they do that?
You can email me directly. It's just chris@bogeys-to-birdies-golf.com. You can send us a DM on social media. That's the best way to get in touch with us. And we'd love to. I'd love to again, our number one, right? Well, I always want to work with people who are like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited. And God's doing that. He's making a pathway for all that to happen. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of success. So yeah, if there's anybody listening who is a member at a country club anywhere in the country, love to connect with you, share about our vision, share about how we can make a difference, and be a part of what you're doing locally.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to check out his website, Bogeys to Birdies, and
bogeystoBirdiesGolf.com.
bogeystoBirdiesGolf.com. He's got some really cool hats up there, really inexpensive hats, really great, good looking. I think I'm gonna have to get one of those. And then if you, I know I noticed a few sets yesterday. There's a set for $75, a set for $54. So there's some unique sets up there, but also you can get a pre-owned, really nice set of clubs for not as expensive as.
And I'll just say that's the heart. Is like we sell everything from individual clubs to sets, but we have our bogeys to birdie sets, which are the essentials. It's a driver, a hybrid, a wood, an iron, a wedge, and a putter. On average, $75. If you're trying to get in the game of golf, it's one of the most affordable ways to get in the game of golf. Try it out. If you don't like it, you get 1 year. Send me the clubs back. I'll give you your money back. Or if you're growing in the game and you're loving it and you want to upgrade, send me the clubs back. I'll give you the clubs as a credit for your upgrade. So cool. We'll give you 1 year to do it. And that's kind of the whole part, is that like, I believe that golf has that much ability to change men and women's lives just by getting in community and getting connected, that this is the best way for us to make a difference and point people to Christ.
And thank you so much for your time, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Richie, thanks for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for allowing me to kind of revisit a few of the fun memories that I had at HP and the seeds that God planted along the way. And I know that people are still coming along and watering those, and people's lives are being transformed and changed every day because of Jesus and because of what he's done on the cross and what he's done in my life and what he's doing through your life. So I want to commend you for what you're doing with this podcast and how you're changing lives and driving kingdom impact and kingdom ministry. I love that you're creating opportunities for men to share their boldness and courage and be faithful. And so I'll leave you with this. When you're faithful, God is fruitful. And that God's always asking us to do. Absolutely. Show up and be faithful, be obedient, and then let him be fruitful. So I commend you for the work you're doing.
It's like stay connected to the vine. You can't produce fruit on yourself. You have to just stay connected to the vine. And
I think that people joining this podcast are going to be enriched. They're going to be empowered. So thank you for taking your bold leap of faith to start this and invite people on. I'm grateful to be here. Look forward to the guests that come on after me and continuing to lift others up and celebrate them and what God's doing in and through their lives and making a difference in the world.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where Bogeys to Birdies goes. And
yeah, I am too.
Excited to be along the journey with you. So
yes. Awesome.